Hi, welcome. In this video, we're going to work on program 10. Program 10, you're going to have menus. Your options will be A for add a gas person. So first I'm going to say that we're going to be managing like all of your gas purchases. So this is just a list of data. You're not going to be making any gas purchases. You're just going to be managing the list. So you're going to add, A would be to add an entry to the list. P would be to print the list onto the screen. S would be just to print the last name and the total cost of any E85 purchases, and Q to quit. So this is just an exercise and it's just practice, and please follow my directions and this is different from previous semesters, so please follow the directions for this assignment. You will be using a struct to organize your data. Your struct will have two strings. One will be the gas type and one will be the customer last name. Two integers, one will be the item number that corresponds to the gas type, and the second will be a number of gallons. I know that the number of gallons throughout the semester, I've been using the number of gallons as an integer. Sometimes of course, people purchase fractions of gallons, but just so that it was kind of complete, and we have two integers, two strings, and two doubles, I decided to keep number of gallons as an integer for this assignment. And two doubles, one would be the price per gallon and the other one would be the total cost. So the total cost is calculated by multiplying the number of gallons times the price per gallon, and then you're just working with two different data types and you get to practice with different data types. So I don't know what you guys did on your other assignments, but every assignment I've been doing the number of gallons as a whole number, just to practice using integers. So when you enter a gasoline purchase, the program will ask you to enter the customer last name, the item number, and the number of gallons. And then it's going to use the item number to get the price and multiply that to get the total. So it's going to do a little bit of math for you, so you don't have to enter all six things. You just have to enter the customer last name, the item number, and the number of gallons, and then it's going to find out the gas type and the cost and calculate. So this is the way, so if the user does not enter a valid number 1 through 5, you do not enter anything onto the list. So your list is going to, if you have 3 items on your list, you're going to still have 3 items on your list that you have to make sure that the user enters a 1 through 5. We're going to use the same types of gas and the same numbers as we've used all semester. So then you can copy and paste some things from your other code. And then you're also going to go through. So these are all going to be strings. Even E85 is a string. So we are going to have the option when the user selects an S, then you're going to search to find any, and I put here how to compare. You're going to compare the gas type to see if it is E85. So this is practice, searching through the list, adding to a list, and we are not going to be removing anything from the list. So we're not going to remove anything from the list, and you're going to start with an empty list. So at the beginning of the program, your list is going to be empty, and you're going to have to add all the items onto the list one by one. So you should use 8 programmer-defined functions plus your main. Do not use global variables. And so here are the function prototypes. You will have a greeting function, a run menu function that uses an input-output parameter, a process selection function that's going to take that selection, A, P, S, or Q. It's going to take your list, and it's going to take an input-output parameter for the count. The reason it's going to take an input-output parameter for the count is because if you add an item to the list, you're going to have to add one to the count. So then you're going to have an add a transaction, which will take the list and the count. You're going to have a set price, which is going to take the list and the count. It also is going to return a 0, because if you're going to ask the user, you're going to check to see if the number that the user entered was valid. So basically what happens here is you're going to have to ask the user to enter a number 1 through 5, and if they do not enter a 1 through 5, then this function is going to figure it out and let you know that nothing is going to be added to your list. Then you have a calculate the total function and print the list function and a function that searches for the print E85 purchases. So let's go through these again. The first function greets the user. The next function takes in the user's selection, A, P, S, or Q, and displays the program options. So this one is going to display the program options and get the user's selection, A, P, S, or Q. This one is going to take that selection, take the list, and take the count, which will start at 0, and then it's going to call which function depending on whether they added A, P, or S. So A is going to be add a transaction. So if the user selects A, the add transaction function is going to be called. The add transaction function is going to have to use some other functions for help. It's going to have to set the price and calculate the total. So these are helper functions for adding a transaction. And then you have print the list. This function will be called if the user selects P, and print the E85 purchases. This function will be called if the user selects S. So here we are. This is a sample output. So when you start out, you welcome the user, and then you say you tell them what they're going to do. They're going to enter the last name, the gas type, and the item number, and the number of gallons. And if they do not enter a valid item number, then the transaction will not be recorded. We're not going to be doing any transactions here. We're not purchasing gas. We're not keeping a balance. We're keeping a list of all the transactions. So just like it's the end of the day, and I know that the program probably should have kept all the transactions, but we're typing this up for our accounting purposes and keeping track, and we're rounding our number of gallons to an integer, a whole number, just to practice using different data types. So if you select P, then you selected P, the list will be printed onto the screen, but the list is empty. Now the user selects S, of course the list is empty. Now the user selects A, so here you will add a gas purchase transaction to the list. Remember that if you do not add a valid number 1 through 5, then it will not be recorded. So the user entered a number 2, which is valid. They enter the number of gallons, 23, and now that has been added to the list. The gas purchase was added to the list. In the background, it filled in all of the rest of the information. So now if you want to add another one, you add 33. That is not valid. So it's going to tell you that that transaction will not be added to the list, and there is still only one gas purchase on there. Add A again. And now we did it correctly with the number 3, and now there are 2 on there. It's very good to keep track with this number. And eventually I added a few, and after I added a few, then I'm going to print them onto the screen. So now I have 5 have been added to my list, and then I'm going to print them onto the screen. So here I'm printing them. So you will notice that when I add, for example, this one was item number 4 with 46 gallons, and I entered the last name was Tiger, so it's going to be here in my list with Tiger, 46 gallons. It figured out that number 4 was diesel, it found the price per gallon, and it calculated the total. All right, so then the search is going to search through for any that have E85. There are 2 that had E85, Strong and Peters. So if we go up here, we will see that Peters has E85 and Strong has E85. So you can use this too, and then I quit. But you can use this for your sample output. Remember that when you start out the program, it's going to be an empty list. So in the next video, we're going to get started writing the code. I've given you a sample to help you get started like I always do. So in the next video, I'm going to launch Visual Studio and get started.